training of the new people. So the knowledge management is also one of the challenge. Now, if you look at the causes of the machine failure, then there are mechanical problems, the wear and tear of the parts due to the running of the machines, loose electrical connections. Sometimes the connections come out because of the vibrations and all other things. Environmental changes, humidity, temperature, especially in the foundry environment. Equipment life. Equipment also has a life, and if you do not actually look at the replacement cycle of equipment, then you end up spending more money in maintaining it. Spare parts failure, in absence of taking the right action at the right time, the spare parts tend to fail much earlier than the defined life. Uh, Abuse of machine by the operator, and that is one thing where the maintenance people really do not have any control. Whenever a maintenance call comes and the maintenance person goes to the shop floor and he asks what has happened to the machine, the standard answer is वो चलते चलते मशीन बंद हो गया, चलता चलता मशीन बंद पड़. So actually the machine doesn't stop on its own, doesn't fail suddenly. It always gives some indication before it fails. And many times there, because of the abuse of the machine, that machines are overloaded or the requisite amount of care is not taken while doing the operations on the machine, the standard operating procedure is not followed. So that type of things never are told to the maintenance guy. And he is blamed for the things for which actually the health of the machine is not the reason of failure. So how to capture this abuse of machine by operator or overcapacity utilization by the production people? So that is also one of the major cause of the machine failures. So if you really ask a maintenance guy what system he would like to have, then he'll come up with this list of his wish list that what type of system he needs. The first and foremost things that he would like to know that the machine should generate alerts before the machine fails. Because one firm belief is that machine does not fail suddenly. So whatever there are indications of something going wrong, so if those indications are arrested before the bigger failure of the machine, they will be able to maintain the machine at the high uptime. Secondly, whenever the machine fails, it should be able to, the system should be able to give them a little bit of diagnostic data why the machine has failed. So just imagine if somebody gets a machine failure alarm and if he gets all the real information about what was done on that machine, what operations were done on the machine, what was loaded onto that machine before the machine had failed, that helps him diagnosing the exact reason of the failure. In absence of this, the diagnostic time becomes very high. And secondly, once the failure is brought to the notice of the maintenance guy, he should also have a repository of troubleshooting, that yes, and that should be handy to him, that if something goes wrong, what are the steps that he should do. One more thing is that the maintenance people today are looking that yes, they should be able to do the maintenance of their machines remotely by remote access. If any program, PLC program debugging has to be done or something goes wrong with the program of the machine, then they should be able to do it remotely. It should indicate when to service a machine. So, although there is a time-based maintenance available today, But during the time-based maintenance, people really do not know what all things to be checked, although there are some standard checklists available, but those are not sufficient. So in between the regular preventive maintenance schedule, between the two preventive maintenance schedule, if something goes wrong, then that goes into the big machine downtime, and there is no indication that yes, what part I need to check, what part I should change during the preventive maintenance. So if that indication that they get, they'll be able to do, of course, the spare part life tracking. If somebody can tell how many hours of running this machine has done, so they'll be able to predict the life of the part. So all these requirements, when you put together, the one obvious answer comes to my mind that yes, they should be able to get the running parameter control of the machine when the operations are done on the machine. So that if something goes wrong, they'll be able to know before the major failure happens. So here we suggest that yes, for getting that information, it is important for a maintenance function to move from regular time-based maintenance to condition-based maintenance. So let's understand what a condition-based maintenance is. Condition-based maintenance is a maintenance strategy that monitors the real-time condition of an asset to determine what maintenance needs to be performed. So if you get an indication that your currents are going above the threshold value, then you are supposed to check the health of the motor. Are there any overload, or is there motor jamming, or is there any obstacle coming in between? Secondly, one can also see the temperature of the particular part. Thirdly, if there are any pneumatic lines, then if the drop in pressure has started going below the threshold value, then before the major pressure leak happens, they'll be able to arrest it and avoid the collateral damage that might happen when the actual big failure happens. So this is basically gives them a real-time alert of the running machine every time the machine is put on the operation. And this, where the normal conventional proverb goes, the stitch in time saves 9, that helps them to maintain the machine at the high uptime before getting into the major failure. Now, if you really look at typical condition-based maintenance flow process, is that yes, you have a machine here. To this machine, some critical sensors are attached, so that some critical parameters you capture from the machine while the machine is running. These parameters are fed into the edge device or IoT gateway, whatever you can call it. This edge device pushes that data into the data storage, cloud server, where the whole running data of the machine is stored. While this data, the current machine data comes, it goes for validation to see whether any of the parameters that has been captured from the machine is exceeding the threshold value. If it is not exceeding the threshold value, it will go and sit as a record of good health running machine. And if the threshold value, the current value is more than the threshold, it will generate an alarm, and this alarm can be pushed on to the respective user by virtue of either email, SMS, or there can be also a visual representation on the machine itself through the tower lamps showing red, yellow, and green signals. Now this actually, whenever this alert goes to the operator, action is triggered. So whatever the maintenance or action he does to rectify that problem, it gets updated into the data acquisition system where it remains as a repository of the machine maintenance, or what we can call it as a machine log, or what we can call it as a knowledge base for assessing the further machine conditions. Now, AI-based condition maintenance tools are available. There are different types of condition-based maintenances. Like first is the electrical analysis, vibration analysis, infrared thermography, ultrasonic, and oil analysis and pressure analysis. These are some of them, not all. But if you look at the electrical analysis, it is actually employed to examine the incoming power quality of any asset using current motor. And these current motors, variations in the motor current, you can correlate it with the repository of all the motor current variations that you have along with the earlier data, and suggest what could have been the issue with this. I'm going to cover only the electrical analysis, one of the condition-based maintenance tool called as motor current signature analysis as a part of this. Rest are similar to that, only the parameter that you take for measurement differs. Like in vibration analysis, if you really see, it is the process for measuring vibration levels and frequencies of machinery using information to analyze the health of machine and their components. So now what vibration analysis tells you is like if there is any imbalance in the rotor, or there is a bearing failure, or mechanical looseness, or some resonance, or some bent shaft, all these information can be triggered by just doing the vibration analysis of a system. Infrared thermography is again a process which uses the thermal imager to detect radiations coming from an object, converting it to temperature and displaying an image of the temperature distribution in real time. This is often used with a baseline image, that a normal thermographic image of a normal running system is captured, and all the latest thermographic images are compared with these images to indicate that there is a variation. And what is that variation? What does that mean? Is again referred to the knowledge base, which says that if this type of variations are seen, then these are the faults, likely faults into the system. Ultrasonic analysis is also the same, where instead of electrical or vibration as a parameter, you use ultrasonic to identify the problems with the machine or the system by detecting high frequency sounds and converting them into audio and digital data. This can be again with contact ultrasonic analysis or contactless ultrasonic analysis. Oil analysis, most of the people are knowledgeable about it, because most of us, we are using our cars, and whenever you go for servicing, the people tell you that yes, this oil needs a change. So if when you check the quality of the oil, the metal content into the oil, or the viscosity of the oil, it tells you what could be the reasons of this, and what is the failure analysis of this particular system based on the oil quality check. Similarly, the pressure analysis is used in maintaining the correct pressure within the equipment, um, uh, which can actually continuously monitor the pressure, and any increase or drop in the pressure can help you fixing or detecting the problem across the pressure pipelines. So let us see one of the condition monitoring techniques called as motor current signature analysis. So the motor current current signature analysis, it's a technique used to determine the operating conditions of induction motor. We all are aware that in any process or machines, the 70% of the components are induction motors. So if you are able to do some sort of signature analysis using the induction motor currents, then you will be able to identify the major causes of the failure. What it does, that it senses an electrical signal that connects contains a current component and detects the fault at an early stage and avoid the damage and complete failure of the motor, so that if there is any variation which are beyond the normal variations, you can start looking at a particular fault. Now, this MCSA helps in identifying the rotor bar damages, foundation looseness, static eccentricity, dynamic eccentricity, stator mechanical and electrical faults, defective bearings, if there are, it reflects into the change in the current signature. Then, of course, the coupling health and the load issues. These all mechanical plus electrical faults can be analyzed using MCSA condition monitoring as a technique. This is basically how it works. If you see, here there is a motor and there are voltage and the current sensors put here. The motor senses the mechanical load variations and convert them into an electrical variation. These variations are compared with the normal running of the motor, and this, if any change in the variation from the standard or normal working, you will be able to address the fault that could come there, because MCSA as a system, it has the repository of all the motor control signatures that are stored into the system for the various different faults. So if whatever the new variation comes, it compares it with the fault signatures available in the library, and when it finds the resemblance with that signature, then it can suggest what type of fault is there with the system. The advantage of the motor current signature analysis is that it's very accurate as compared to the other frequency analysis. It indicates the type of failure, because the repository of the faults or the signatures that MCSA has is a very wide range of faults that they can capture, and also with the smaller variation, the fault reason could be different. It can identify mechanical as well as the electrical problems. Secondly, the MCSA implementation or installation is not very complex, because you do not have to put sensors near the asset. The all sensing happens into the motor current control cabinet, where the current drawn by the motor is analyzed. It is also recommended to be used for the harsh application where you cannot actually reach or put the sensors. And just because the electrical signals are the immediate indication of anything going wrong, you are able to do the quick analysis and the interpretation. So it is, in short, if you what you like, I call it any electrical system. The current analysis is like your blood test. Anything going wrong, any component or any variations happening in the system, they do reflect into the current frequency spectrum. Now, it is not possible for many of the mechanical maintenance people to immediately jump into the MCSA type of technologies, or for various reasons. Maybe one of the reasons is the cost. Another reason is where to get that knowledge of this thing, signature analysis. So the obvious thing is that yes, we can really look at setting up your own condition-based maintenance system. So here I am presenting to you a case study on condition-based monitoring. This is in a foundry industry, and they had a problem of maintaining the high uptime of the crane. Because in foundry, the crane is the most critical machine, because if the metal is already melted and the pouring doesn't happen, it's a big loss to the company. So how did it started that when we talked to the foundry people, they identified what are the major causes of the failure of the crane. So first thing is yes, the motor failure, because sometimes because of the overload, sometimes because of any other reason, jamming, because the environment is temperature going up, insulation failure, so many other reasons. So one of the major cause of crane down is the motor failure. Then secondly, another cause that they found is was the frequent overloading on the shop floor. That if the crane is designed for say 10 tons, the shop people use it for 12 tons or 15 tons, and they are not able to really track it, the safe working load. The oil quality in the gearbox, if it deteriorates, then also the gearbox fails, or the gear starts wearing and tearing. Brake liner is one of the reasons of failure. What happens that the brake liners are worn out, and there is no indication that then when they will wear out. So if the complete metal is melted and suddenly you find that crane is not working, then it's a loss of production, wear and tear of the guide wheels which are going onto the rail. And of course, there are some small problems like pendant push button not working when it is supposed to work. It is supposed to take the crane up, it is not happening. Bring the crane down, not happening. And of course, the limit switch failure of the travel on the crane. So these were the major problems. So we said, yes, how these problems can be identified before the major problem happens. So the next step was selecting the right sensors to identify the right cause of the failure. So for capturing the overload, they had put the a load cell onto the crane, and whatever the load the crane is picking up, that data is getting stored into the system. And if it is increasing the safe working load, then immediately an alert is sent to the maintenance person or the production person to see that the crane is not used in the overload mode. Motor health monitoring, all the critical parameters of the motor like voltage, current, frequencies are measured on a regular basis through the right sensors. Oil health monitoring, the sensors were put for the oil quality sensor into the oil chamber, which tells the quality of the oil. So for the viscosity is content, the water content or the metal content into the oil. And moment you find that the oil is started deteriorating, it's the right time to replace the oil or change the oil before the major breakdown happens, and also have a look at the gearbox where there is a more wear and tear of the gears is happening or not. Brake liner wear and tear monitoring. So there, how to actually check the thickness of the brake liner? Because in wear and tear, the thickness becomes less. So what they have done, they have put a proximity sensor here. So the length between the brake drum and this thing, so it tells you the thickness of the brake pads. So if the thickness of the brake pad comes below a threshold value, then you can replace the brake pad so that the brake failure does not happen. Monitoring of wear and tear will, here one of the things that can be used is the anti-creep mechanism, which is nothing. The wear and tear of the guide wheel happens because of the unsynchronized wheel movement across the rail. There are 4 motors, and if they are not synchronized, then one motor will drag the one pulley will drag the another pulley, and that's where the pulley gets go or not. So to avoid that, a PLC is used, and that PLC actually senses the misalignment of rotations between the pulleys, and it has a self-balancing mechanism also, so that the rotation or is synchronized and it does not go into the unsynchronized mode. Pendant push button, of course, this is not a very elegant solution, but it has been still put there. That is, every push button has its life. So if you actually capture the life, operation life, or count the number of on-off operations that happened on that pendant, then you will be able to know that if my push button life is say about 1200 operations or 12,000 operations, then suddenly after the 10,000 operation, I should start getting alert that yes, check the push buttons or replace the push buttons, so that they are always remain into the healthy conditions for the next. And that is one of the things the preventive maintenance needs, that what parts to be changed and when they should be changed, so that you are not unnecessarily changing the new part. At the same time, you are not dragging the old parts till the end of their life. So all the signals coming from the from the sensors, they are fed into the PLC. All the electrical signals coming from the VFD, they also go to the PLC. From PLC, they are pushed on to the edge box, which converts into structure data, pushes it onto the cloud, and where you have already predefined the threshold values, where the current information is always measured against the normal working conditions, and any alerts coming in, those alerts can be pushed on to the mobile through emails or through SMS. And yes, you will also be able to get the reports, the trained reports of the complete working parameters of the system. So after the CBM was implemented for the crane, these were the benefits that they found. There was a reduction in unplanned downtime. Then MTBF had improved because they were able to arrest the failure of the part before it failed. The person dependency has also reduced down that for diagnosing a particular problem, they did not need an expert person because the system was able to tell them what has gone wrong and what should be the remedial action to be taken. Uh, it also reduced the maintenance cycle time because the diagnostic time has gone down drastically. It also helped them to overall reduce the maintenance cost. And most important part is that it has helped them to maintain the maintenance knowledge repository. So this is the final slide. I think I'm on time. The roadmap, in short, for building a condition-based maintenance system. The most important part is to identify the machines to be monitored. It is not actually important to monitor all the machines, but some critical machines can be used for the condition-based monitoring. Secondly, once you know the machine, then you should know what are the problems normally the machine faces. So once you have got the repository of the problems, then you should start looking for the right signals, right technologies, right sensors for solving that problem. Build the use case, build your ROI calculation that yes, if I use this technology, this sensor, this is the cost that I'm going to incur, and these are the benefits that I'm going to get. Once the ROI calculations are through, then do a quick prototype as a proof of concept to check whether this helps them to identify and get the early alerts of a particular problem. And once this has been done, then of course you can go for the mass rollout of the condition-based system. So that's the end of the.
Sir, how AI will play a role, right?
Yeah.
In like preventive maintenance of oil in that
Mm.
part. I had a doubt in that. I did not understand how it would actually do. Can you please explain it again?
No, sir, so far the oil analysis is concerned that the oil deteriorates over a period of time. And if what type of deterioration it has happened, if you are able to correlate it with the past problem, like oil deterioration can happen because of the more wear and tear of the gearbox, or it can happen because of while machine cleaning some water has gone into it. So depending on what type of parameter you are measuring, it will help you to identify which, if the metal content is high, that means there is more wear and tear of the gearbox that is happening. So it actually.
Yeah, the question is, can you elaborate more on the AI part?
See, AI, as I explained to you, the definition of AI is what? See, basically, whatever the current information that you get, if you are able to interpret that information with the help of the past experience, like the normal human being, the way it does it. For example, if you're asked what if you have to go from say Kothur to Hadapsar in the evening at 5:30, how much time it's going to take? So your brain precisely know by past experience that this is a peak hours. It is going to take you 1.5 hours to reach Hadapsar. But if it is early morning at 5:30, then it is non-peak hours and you will be able to reach that 8 kilometers of distance in just 20 minutes. So whenever in condition-based monitoring, what we do, that we actually keep on capturing the real life data of the machine. So whenever any fault happens in the machine, the different parameters show a different values, which are different than the normal running value of the system. So if you are able to correlate that, for example, the motor temperature going up. So there are various reasons why motor temperature can go up. One of the reasons is that could be some insulation failure of the motor. Secondly, there could be overloading of the motor. Thirdly, the motor is drawing more current than the defined. So if you are able to correlate this with your past, that yes, last time when the temperature of the motor has gone up, that time I found that motor was jammed. There was something which was an obstacle in smooth running of the motor. And this remains as a part of the knowledge base. So knowledge base can help you guide that yes, what could be the probable reasons of this parameter change. Now, if the motor is failing when your temperature goes say beyond 55 degrees and the insulation burns out, so one should not one should not wait till the temperature has reached to the burnout stage. At my normal running motor temperature is say 40 degrees, and suddenly it has started going to 43, 44, 45, 47. Then there is a time where I should have a look at the machine so that I avoid the burnout of the machine. So this is the intelligence that I am saving the life of the motor before it has died.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir,
There is one
sir,
more. Yeah.
I have a point in this. Pardon me if I'm wrong, or please correct me if I'm wrong. As I understand the AI means artificial intelligence, which which collect the information from the system,
Right.
and with reference to and on the base of the collected information, it gives some decision and it
Right.
gives some solution to the person.
Yes.
Right. The output of the AI is a decision and to give the solution, the perfect solution. So in this, as I understand, it is giving you the the operator some options to and it is giving the indication that it is going to fail. It is
Yes.
it is not yeah. So it is going to fail. That is the preventive maintenance. I understand.
Right.
But the in this, the part of AI should be like it should give the decision also that this is the exact reason of failure, the failure which is going to occur, and you need to do this, or it may give some first aid also. It may provide some first aid also, so that by the time operator is installing some or fixing some the issue, by that time the system should be withstand with the with regular in regular running.
Your question is right, first of all. That yes, the whole purpose of the AI used to give you a actionable recommendation. That it should tell you what to do. Right? Now, as I said, there are the condition techniques like what I said, motor current signature analysis. Now, in this motor current signature analysis, the variations for various faults are already stored. And the motor current signature analysis system gives you a precise information that yes, your gearbox or your gears are wearing out, or maybe there is a stator rotor short, or there is some sort of loosening of the foundation board. Because all these signatures, like your ECG, they are stored as a part of the knowledge repository of the AI system. So if you really look into our body health, when you do a CT scan, what it tells you? That they compare the deceased body CT scan with the normal body CT scan. And when they find a variation, then they say, okay, here I find that this particular part is unhealthy. Similarly, these type of signatures are already stored in the system like motor current signature analysis. But if you have to build your own AI system, that's why if you go to one of my slides, I had said that when you are putting your own condition-based system, you can keep on updating the actions that you have taken for the faults that has happened. So this becomes the repository of your knowledge. So similar fault happening next time, it is able to pull the data from the knowledge base and tell boss, this is the thing exactly which has happened. Am I able to, did you get my point or, hello?
Yeah, I got the point, but I have one more doubt here. Sorry, that this you said this when the problems occur, it will go into the knowledge base, right? And it will build the
Action
knowledge
will also
base.
go into the knowledge base.
Yeah, yeah. So it will build the knowledge base,
Right.
right? Right. So it's a kind of the if you install this system in our system, then it will take time to mature
Of
because
course, it
it
takes
will
about,
build the knowledge base and it will get matured.
right. That is why the condition-based monitoring becomes very important. Unless you have got the condition-based monitoring, you will not be able to build your knowledge base. And that is what they call it as a machine learning. So there is, for any
Okay.
system,
I thought
AI
it
system,
is already the signatures are already installed in the knowledge
yes,
base.
quite a few
And
are there. But
yeah.
as I said, the system provider provides a library where there are about 80-85% standard signatures available. But like every human being
So
is
I thought
different, every
first time we need to do some manual work. Then from second
right,
time
right.
the system will do automatically.
Right now, but still, the anybody who is providing you with the AI system, they will still have a library which will tell what this is an indication where the insulation might burn.
Okay.
But your environment could be different. For example, whatever the signatures are available in the Europe, where normally the environmental conditions are not as harsh as ours. So those signatures could change the outcome. For your environment, in your type of weather conditions, you need to build your own signatures. Although 60-70% signatures will help you doing some diagnostic, but to take it to 80% or 85%, which is considered to be the best in AI, so to that level, you will have to tune the system. Whenever the different type of faults happen, you have to update the library saying that this has happened because of this and these problems.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for clarification.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that learning curve is always there for any system.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I
Thank you.
think, Bade sir, over to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Avinash, sir. It was
Yeah.
excellent session on how to apply our artificial intelligence methodology, the practice, to make our maintenance schedule or predictive analysis for the
Right.
maintenance.
That is a
very
start to the
effective.
AI.
Yes, yes, yeah.
This is the beginning to the AI. We cannot
Yes,
directly
yes.
get into the AI, but
Yes, it is the beginning, right? So we'd like to get more such input from you, sir, regarding the, how to apply how this AI modeling is done, and how this decision making helps the particular persons to analyze and apply the things to get the things done, right? So there is one more question, sir. Shall we discuss that?
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Mr. Yadnesh Pradhan has a question.
Mhm.
that typically these are the expensive technologies. What they feel,
Mhm.
these are the expensive technologies
True,
like
true.
AI, and so where they can be used, in what kind of industry they can be applied.
See, yes, I agree with him that AI technologies are expensive. But
Yeah,
as I said, there is no need to go for ready-made AI systems.
yeah,
But by implementing a simple condition-based maintenance system,
yeah.
you will be able to build your AI system.
So there will be an ROI based on the AI
Yeah,
system that you are applying, right?
right, right.
So
Because
there should be cost
finally,
and ROI.
what I
Okay.
didn't get.
So even if you feel that AI system is a costly affair, but
Mhm.
there is definitely an ROI on the investment, isn't it?
There is always an ROI, but
Yeah,
not that all people can afford to do it at the
yeah,
first. There are two things,
yeah,
especially in country like us, we really do not think very futuristic.
yeah.
We look for short-time gains.
Yes, yes,
So in this case, unless people are made to realize the benefits that they get,
correct.
they will not jump into a very complex type of a
Yeah,
AI.
yeah. So I think I can make a generalized statement that the cost of the AI can vary
Yeah, it
case
can
to case,
vary,
right?
and it depends on the response that you get from the user side.
Right.
Because using AI also needs training,
Yes, obviously. It needs a training
and
for the
people
shop floor.
need to get trained. See, if there was no pandemic,
Yeah, yeah.
we wouldn't have used this video conferencing as a
Of
technology.
course, of
We
course.
precisely know how much money it saves.
So I
But
think
people,
basically this gives you the more accuracy on
right,
and
right.
some automation, so that even if we forget as a human, even if we forget to take the reading or analyze the reading, the
Mm.
system will start prompting us like this is something that you have to realize and understand it. Okay, that's good. Okay,
And AI system becomes matured
yeah,
only when you get sufficient data.
okay, okay. Now,
Because
sir,
finally,
session, yeah.
prediction is based on the past data.
Yeah, yeah. Sir,
So,
there are two more questions from Session
yeah,
Kotwal, sir.
yeah,
Shall we discuss it quickly?
yeah. Please, I have ample
Okay.
time, no problem.
So, Kotwal sir has asked about making AI models
Mhm.
and how to address the different loads the machine has run. How to identify this?
Let me read the question.
So,
What is
there
the
are two things. One is what is the platform used for making AI models?
okay? Mhm.
Yeah.
There are multiple platforms available.
Okay.
Because finally the platform is nothing but the combination of the edge devices, apps, and analytics.
Okay. Okay.
So there are quite a few AI platforms available provided by the best of the companies in the industry like Siemens,
Yeah.
Schneider, ABB. Everybody has got their own AI platforms.
Yeah.
So that can be used because these all platforms comes with their ready to use type of a fault library.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so one can use that. There are
One.
also quite a few good local AI brands available, which can be also tried out.
So there is a one more question, sir,
Mm.
regarding how to handle or how to address the different loads the machine has run. How to identify that?
Different loads, you mean the mechanical loads or the electrical loads?
I think that is a mechanical load, I guess.
So, in fact, in my case study, I precisely had put that point that if you are able to put a digital load cell there,
Yes, yes.
the load cell data will be able to give you the exact load the system is carrying and which you can
Yeah.
capture. So,
Okay. So there are sensors and that can
yeah,
give
yeah, it's
you
actually there is
time-based data also.
wide range of sensors fortunately available, and
Yes, yes.
one of the success, one of the key factors of having a good AI system is to select the right sensors.
Yeah.
Many times it happens that you are not able to measure a particular parameter. For
Okay.
example, I'll tell you the stiffness of the chain.
Yeah.
How the chain stiff is the chain, whether chain is loosening or not. How can you check? There is nothing to measure it. So when you cannot measure a particular parameter, you can always measure the effect of it.
Yes, of course.
So whenever the chain is loose, there will be a sag in the chain. And with the
Obviously.
proximity sensor, you can sense that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So picking up the right sensor, what we call it, is the success in any AI system.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So there is one last question, sir, and that is very typical on the shop floors, getting
Yeah.
false alarms.
Huh.
Okay. So how to handle that, how to make sure that or identify that these are the false alarms kind of things.
Yes, just whatever the care you take, the false alarms will still be there.
Yeah.
And yeah, one has to, the one of the thing as a part of the habit that you have to do it,
Yeah.
that whatever the alarm comes, you are supposed to
So
address it.
yeah,
You
I
are
just-
supposed to address it.
Yes, yes.
And if there is nothing gone wrong, you can go ahead and put it as a part of outlier in the
Yeah,
system.
yeah. So I was just thinking about creating a machine learning based on the
Yes.
false alarms, so
Yes.
that AI system should know that this is a false alarm.
Yeah, yes, historically, statistically, it is possible.
Yes, sir. Yes. Sir. Okay.
Yeah, but for that, you will have to generate lot of false alarms.
Obviously.
And
Sorry.
generating lot of false alarm means wrong sensors are picked up.
Correct. Yeah.
So that is not a AI system.
Yeah.
The
Understood.
right sensor giving you a false alarm as a part of outlier. Because sometimes what happens, because of hijack, because of some momentary load, some type of a pick comes into the system.
Yes, sir.
And there could be multiple reasons of it.
Yeah.
So that cannot become the part, but it will be still very bold statement to say that the systems will never give you false alarm. It
Yeah,
will.
yes.
It will.
Yeah.
Because finally machines are like human beings. You do not know how they will behave at any point of time.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So thank you, sir, very much for this wonderful session on. Actually, we thought about initially as a preventive maintenance,
Yeah.
but this comes as a total guide on AI-enabled machine maintenance.
That's so actually thanks to Mr. Bade.
Yes.
We had a lot of discussions.
Yes, sir.
And there is actually I was to talk only on condition based monitoring.
Of course, yeah.
So he said like it take to the next platform
Yeah.
on AI. So we had a debate. I said I cannot talk about AI unless people have condition based monitoring. He said so.
Correct.
Tell
That's
that.
required. That is
So
required.
Tell that. That is
Yeah.
what he said.
Correct.
He said unless, because I firmly believe that you need to capture a huge amount of data
Yeah.
before